best there was and the best there ever will be. And you know it.
With a tear in my eye.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
And we're back, episode 408 of Top Rope Nation. It's a Monday afternoon. Ryan Drosty, Jesse Velasquez here to talk AEW Revolution 2026. Jesse, it's been a while since we've done a flagship. How you doing, my friend?
I am quite excited. You have no idea. It's been a long time, I feel like, since we've been on. I joked about it, even said we're averaging one show a month. That has to change.
I mean, it's better than zero, I guess. But yeah, we've only done a couple of episodes here in the new year on the flagship, at least. There's been content dropping, on our Patreon. Jesse has been speaking into the void, doing his solo show, Unplugged, pretty much every single week. Once in a while, more than one episode a week. I've been doing the extras here and there. I had an extra drop with my Revolution review late last night for our patrons. So you could have got the instant reaction if you're a Patreon supporter. And then, of course, we still do Top Rope Nation Classics here and there. And we'll have one coming up here in the next couple of weeks, in fact. So a good time to get on the Patreon bandwagon. Unfortunately, we don't have Justin Joint with us.
Oh.
We really wanted to put out a show, but we didn't want to wait too long to do it. Justin also was really invested in watching the Oscars last night, so hasn't really been able to deep dive as much on Revolution as Jesse and I have. So we were kind of just like, all right, I'm on spring break this week. Why not just dive in here in the afternoon? You had some time open. And so this is it. We get to talk about what went down at the former Staples Center in Los Angeles, California last night. So Jesse, I think we'll just go right off the bat with our grades A through F, as we often do here on the show. And those of you that are joining us live, you can hit us with your thoughts on Revolution or anything that's on your mind in the chat. Of course, super chats are open as always. If you really want to support, make sure your comment gets featured in the show. Jesse, give me your grade for Revolution.
Before I do that, I also want to talk to the people out there just about the fact that Ryan, Justin, and I in our group chat really haven't been talking much pro wrestling in the last month. So we're going to be going in blind today.
True.
And I'm really excited. I wish that Justin was here to hear this. A- is the final grade for AEW Revolution. And I almost think this is harsh because I have been looking at feedback all day long and people are calling this an all-timer. And I said, did we watch the same pay-per-view? I didn't see a negative match per se. There was a lot of matches. I felt there was 4 that I rated like 4 stars across the board. Mm-hmm. I don't think I had anything higher than 4. No, I had one match higher than 4.25. So yes, that constitutes an A show. So I am nitpicking a little bit on a couple of things. I know there's a match that you're a little bit higher on than I am, but nonetheless, I mean, that 4.5 hours, I think it was 4.5 hours, they balanced it out extremely well. So I had a lot of caffeine and I wasn't wearing down. The main event came and I was still feeling good. I was like, usually I told you, I said, if we hadn't been doing this is 3 hours of me watching it. I'll watch the next hour the next day when I have time to do it and I feel fresh. I felt fresh the whole night. They did a really good job. The crowd was very good too. So A-.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was one of my big takeaways watching it live too, was just how well paced it was. Because Jeremy and I talked about this on BR last night, how sometimes, it's the main event starting after 11 Central, midnight Eastern time. This time, I think the main event started about 11:45, 10:45 Central, which is better than they've done. And, as we'll talk about, there was matches on this show that didn't need to go 15, 20 minutes that they had ended under 10 minutes. And that's not something that AEW often does. They always give performers a chance to show out, even when it's to the detriment of the show. It's maybe this one didn't need to go 18 minutes long. But last night, I felt like the matches that needed to be tight were tight. And I thought it was paced very well. It didn't feel as long. Now, the main event did go about an hour, a little less than that, I think. So it got time and it ended up being a pretty long show, but it didn't feel like it to me because it wasn't where I'm sitting around just waiting for that main event. slot to finally begin. So from that perspective, I really like the pacing of the show and thought they kind of improved matters there. I'll give my grade in a second. Couple chats here. Noah, our friend, checking in, says, been a while. Yeah, it has been a while since TRN Flagship's been on the air. AEW is on freaking fire. This is a legendary run of pay-per-views since 2024. Alan, our good friend, gave it an A-. He docked it a little bit because of Ronda Rousey. We'll get to Ronda Rousey. Yeah, man, I'm at an A on this one. I really liked it. I thought it was a really strong outing. I just went through and did my star ratings for our patrons on every match. And I've been doing that the last couple of years on the Patreon. And there was a pair of matches I kind of flipped their ratings. One I was a little bit higher on in the moment. I dropped it down a little bit, and another one I raised a little bit. But for the most part, I was kind of where I was at last night. And I'm looking down at the list right now. I mean, altogether, I had 4 matches over 4 stars last night. I just thought it was a phenomenal show. Bookended by an awesome opener and a great finish as well. And I just come away thinking Revolution, and you've talked about this on Unplugged, is becoming one of their signature shows. It wasn't like their first one. In fact, it was of the core first 4 pay-per-views they had. It was the last one they came up with early 2020. But it's becoming that yearly show that just oftentimes show of the year in the discussion. Like last year, they had in my star ratings 2 of the top 10 matches of the year in last year's Revolution, with Mariah and Tony and Fletcher and Ospreay in the cage on Revolution last year. But top to bottom, just a phenomenal show. You go back to 2022 when you had Punk and MJF in the dog collar match, which they called back without using Punk's name last night during the main event. Called back to, the PTSD maybe that MJF had because of the dog collars. And you go back to 2020, the first one. I was at that show covering it as a member of the media when you had that awesome tag between the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman. Revolution always delivers. You're going to get a solid outing. And I think when we get to the end of the year, we'll be looking back on a few of these. I don't know that it will win match of the year because Ospreay was on this show, but he didn't wrestle on the show. And I assume Will Ospreay is going to have some match of the year contenders this year and probably have a huge year when all things are considered. I don't know that a match from the show will win match of the year, but I think there'll be at least 1 or 2 matches from the show. They're kind of in that top 10 discussion at the end of 2026. So I'm at an A on this. And I think on our Twitter poll, I don't have it handy here, but it was like overwhelmingly people were giving it an A. I see on Cage Match, the show has a 9.46 out of 10 rating. That's out of 149 votes right now. That's really high for a show on Cage Match.
It was 9-1 when I looked at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
It's jumped up since then. And then real quick, 2023 at MJF and Danielson. In the Iron Man main event, that was so good. Hangman and Moxley, Texas Death, which was great. 2024, of course, who could forget it? Sting's retirement match ended up blowing it away. And one of my favorite matches of the last handful of years, you mentioned him, Ospreay Takeshita. That was his debut.
Yeah.
So home run after home run.
Every year, it's awesome. I guess the big point of view, or the big point here, Jesse, is we need to attend a Revolution live again. I mean, no matter where it is, it'll be worth traveling to if these past editions are, any proof. So, I think we can start from the top. And by the way, before we do that, because, people have stayed loyal to us despite our, absence this year. I just want to thank everybody who has remained a patron. Again, those of you that are our paying customers, we've tried to continue to give you content even while maybe the flagship on the main feed has been lacking. Just want to reiterate, there has been content dropping behind the paywall, and you can get access for $5 a month. It's the best way to support us, and all those names scrolling across the bottom of the screen. We thank you very much for staying loyal to TRN. We got stuff in the works. It's going to be a big year for the show. This summer will be the 10-year anniversary of this podcast, which is wild. So stay with us. We appreciate your loyalty. And of course, if you're on YouTube, it's free. Just subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a lot too. Thumbs up this video. We would really, really appreciate that.
You guys rule. I was going to say that. I have to, and sadly, I have to wait another week to put out my next match in the 52 match classic with the snowstorm and the minor chaos that's been going on in my life. Stephen Conway was nice enough to, we're going to be going on next week discussing Mitsuharu Misawa versus Kenta Kobashi from 2003 Noah. It's a match that if you go back and look at it, I think it's the second highest rated match in the history of CageMatch.net.
Wow. Nice. Very nice.
So
yeah, the 52 match project's been awesome on Unplugged so far, the ones that you have done. I know Justin and I are going to be getting involved with that very soon with you as well. So yeah, check that out on Patreon feed. If you just go to our Patreon, all the bonus audio shows by default, I think it'll let you listen to like a brief clip of them, even if you're not a patron, to get a taste of what they're like. You can click on any of them and do so. So check that out if you'd like. And then also, I got on the screen here, if you guys are not in our Discord yet, it's very easy to join. Get the Discord app, or you can just use your web browser. But it's topropenation.com/Discord will actually take you right to our Discord page to join. Just sign up for a free account. Lots of people use Discord. It's a great place to have conversation and not be beholden to Mark Zuckerberg or any of those people, right? So topropenation.com/Discord, and you can get on that Discord. Great place to chat with a whole lot of cool pro wrestling fans, and that's where you can find us these days, more so than the old Facebook group, if you've been wondering about that. So topropenation.com/Discord. All right, so let's start right from the top. I just want to talk about the main event first, because I assume a lot of the people are clicking on this video, that's what they want to hear about, because the thumbnail on this show is on YouTube is, did they go too far with the main event? And I kind of, I'm going to call it a couple of Justin's thoughts on this, because he's been in the Discord giving his thoughts, even though he's not on the show today with us. And, Justin was kind of vocal that he thought the main event was too long and it kind of took him out of it. I actually had the direct opposite experience with that main event. So when it started, I felt like I wasn't going to like it very much. It just felt like a weapons match, not a lot of thought to it, just spot after spot with the weapons, getting pretty gory. I'm like, ooh, we had the syringe spot. I'm like, ooh, did they go too far with that? Sticking a syringe literally through Hangman's cheek from the inside out. That was pretty gory. But then as the match went on, the psychology part of it started to build a little bit more, and then I got invested. So it was a rare circumstance to me where it was a really long match, but I started out not liking it, and then at the end I really liked it. And so I had the opposite reaction as Justin. I ended up thinking it was an outstanding match, not the best Texas Death Match they've done. I think Heyman and Moxley last year at All In was a better match. I gave that the full 5 stars. But it was an outstanding match with a lot of memorable spots. There's little nitpicks on the production here and there that maybe you could go after, that Jeremy did on the show last time at BR, but also things I really liked. One of them I took a screenshot of and put on our Twitter page, where they were on the ring apron with the dog collars on, and then they had a low camera angle shot looking up through the barbed wire on the tables. That was such an awesome perspective. That was great directing and production. That I really liked. But overall, yeah, I ended up liking a lot. Give me your thoughts before we get into, the winner and kind of long-term ramifications.
The opening video sequences were great with Hangman, and then MJF with the Terry Funk homage might have been the thing I popped about the most, I think, of the entire match, and in spite of the fact and how good it was, I felt overall. And you're right that it started slow. Yeah. And MJF didn't want to participate in what he called this indie garbage. He's trying to uphold his image, do the best he can. But there were good hokey moments, like MJF running around the ring, and then all of a sudden Tony Schiavone says El Kabong, and then Hangman with it almost sounded like the Steve Austin Vince McMahon bedpan to me from 1998. I laughed pretty hard for about a good 45 seconds. I was like, that's a sweet spot. And then I think you're right. I think like in spurts, it became a little bit more of a wrestling match. The one thing that I am a little concerned about for Texas Death Matches moving forward is the 9 counts. Yeah, and I'll get into the polar opposite of the 9 counts, I think, later on in the show. I think you have an an automatic instance that this match is not ending. Like nobody's, like they're getting up at 9. They're getting up at 9. They're getting up at 9. Just kind of delaying the inevitable eventually. And you know when the ending is coming. So, and with the end, by the way, that ending was almost as good as Moxley getting choked out at All In last year. It was so close.
Yeah.
With Hangman getting choked out, but then just the perfect stumbling of off the apron, head first into the camera, falls over, blood stain right on the camera. I was like, that you almost couldn't have drawn it up any better.
Dude, I bet TK was just giddy backstage when that just happened to play out that way. Of, you stay on that camera, look at the blood. Oh my God, the blood is smeared right across. It's so perfect. It's so perfect. And then they just, they stayed on that camera longer than they had intended just because of that. And it was, I bet he was just losing his shit backstage.
Oh yeah, that is a top 2 Texas death match. I think visual that you'll definitely remember forever. And they even brought out light tubes for this one, which I think I've only seen on an AEW Dark death match. I think Moxley and Janela broke out the light tubes one year, but you haven't seen them ever since. And they're a staple in GCW and some of the other indies. So I thought that was interesting. What Tony Schiavone says, that's not a lightsaber, Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Brian made the point on commentary that we need a break from Texas death matches, and I think so. I think they should kind of retire this match for a couple of years now. We've had a lot of them. There was sequences in the match where I'm like, if this isn't the finish, what is going to be the finish? Like when you do a dead eye through a table on the outside, should that not be the finish? Like a pile driver through a table on the outside, and then they still get up. You're like, what is possibly going to end this? And then they did the belt shots at the end, and I was thinking like this cannot be the finish. If the dead eye through a table on the outside didn't end it, certainly a belt shot cannot end it. But then when they ended up doing, Page gets hit with the dynamite diamond, and then he gets hanged over the top rope. That was pretty clever. It worked out perfectly. I said on the Pro Wrestling Daily show on Friday over on Bleacher Report that I expected MJF to win despite the stipulation. Mm-hmm. And I just felt you couldn't take the title off of Max right now. I mean, business is moving in the right direction. They've been selling more tickets. TV ratings are up. We all love Hangman around here, but I just felt like, you keep it on the strong heel right now. It's too early to take it off of him. Yeah, the stipulation made people questioning, but I mean, he's going to get a shot at the world title again. They made a point in the post show that it was like a handshake agreement, and our friend Jay Schmitz called this out to me last night, and I'll use it again. They kept saying he cannot challenge for the AEW world title, but that doesn't prevent somebody from giving him an opportunity. And I assume down the line maybe that's a direction they could go. Is you might have made that handshake agreement with MJF, but I want to fight you, whether it's a Swerve world champion who I gotta find out once and for all, and they rekindle the feud, or a babyface match with Will Ospreay, where he says, I want you in a title match. I know you had that stipulation, but you're not challenging me, I'm challenging you, kind of thing. Like that's how they could get around it. So I'm not worried in the way that, when they did it with Cody at the very beginning of AEW in late 2019, and they never even hinted really at him getting a world title shot again, which I think booking wise, everyone acknowledges was a mistake to kind of take him out of the world title picture that early. Certainly as his run with AEW went on. And I was talking with Frank about this earlier today, a friend of the show, Frank Pettiani. As his run with AEW went on, the fans got tired of the Cody shtick, and they totally turned on him. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But I think just booking wise, it was a mistake to take Cody out of the title picture at the very beginning of the promotion when he was clearly maybe the top star in the promotion, if not top 2 or 3, and just to kind of kneecap his booking as they did there. So I don't think that that's a concern here. I think you have a situation where this roster is absolutely stacked, and this gives you a logical reason to take Page out of the world title picture for now, because they got other stuff to do. Like, you can't keep waiting on Will Ospreay. He's got to become world champion this year. They've delayed it for so long. When Will Ospreay returned last night, we'll talk about it. It's clear he is the guy, Jesse. He is the guy in this promotion, and they got to go that direction in the next few months. But yeah, I wasn't surprised by the finish at all here in the main event. I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought. It was pretty gory. I don't think they went too far. This is what AEW does. You know, if that's not your cup of tea or cup of coffee, as I sip from my mug here,
There you go.
they still have good wrestling on the show. You know, if you're more of a mat wrestling person, they have that on your show. AEW gives you a little bit of everything. It's not a stagnant promotion. It's a variety. And if this is what you're into, you walked away pretty happy last night, I think.
The syringe spot might have been the only spot where they went a little bit too far. That was like through the cheek. You could see it just squirting out. I was like, ooh. Even the skewers weren't that bad, though. Like they were with Darby and Moxley. I thought that was a little bit cringeworthy too. A couple of times I got fooled. Once when they broke out the dog collars, I didn't realize they were dog collars at first. I saw the edge of the chain and I said, "Oh no, I think Swerve's going to come out and he's going to cost Hangman this match." That was one. And then another time, which would have been a interesting ending, was when they went through the table towards the entrance. And the electrocution, or just like a whole bunch of pyro, just kind of flew up and like electrical sparks and things like that. Yeah. I almost thought they were going to double count them out, which would have been a way to protect Hangman.
Yeah, that thought crossed my mind too.
So good job on the teasing parts of that from Tony Khan. Yeah, overall I felt this was the best match of the night, in spite of the fact that it went 45 minutes, because it broke off in logical, legit segments, had a little bit of everything for everyone. If you're a Gore fan, you got it. If you got some really good psychology in this. I think, again, the only nitpick would have been just the tons and tons of 9 counts.
Yeah, and there's some production stuff too. So there's a lot of like crowd reaction shots, which was very kind of WWE-esque. You know, how they always are looking for the shocked fans in the crowd. And AEW doesn't usually do that, but they did it a lot last night. And one of my theories on this last night on BR was that I don't know if the venue itself played into that. So this is the former Staples Center where the Lakers play in LA. It's now called the Crypto.com Arena, which is one of the worst names for an arena. It just sounds stupid. I'm just going to call it the Staples Center. But the Staples Center is famously, and I asked Jeremy about this because he's a California guy and he's been there. It's famously an arena that doesn't translate live to being very loud. And one of the reasons is the way it's set up. So you got that lower level bowl, but then they have, I think it's like 3 levels of suites, luxury suites. And then you get the upper level where the rest of the fans are, and they're really, really far away. And it's one of these arenas that was built, you know, early 2000s or whenever, late 90s, where they were starting to prioritize more the big spending fans, you know, the luxury boxes. And one of my favorite musicians is Bruce Springsteen. And he famously almost never plays the Staples Center. He'll always play the LA Forum because he likes the feel of that venue as a rock star better. It's louder. The fans are closer to you. And the reason I bring that up is I did see people online last night on Twitter commenting that it didn't seem like the crowd is very lively to them. I could tell the crowd was into it, but other times people were like, oh, they sound kind of quiet. And I think that's because of the setup of the Staples Center. Because I felt like the fans were really engaged the whole night, but I don't know if AEW recognized that and they're like, all right, we need to like show the looks of the people's faces more throughout the show. It wasn't even just the main event. They did it at other points too. Maybe just to show that they were engaged because they felt like the sound wasn't getting across. I don't know. That's just one theory. But I do know as a fact that someone like Springsteen doesn't like playing there because it's not loud, and that he prefers to play at the Forum because everyone's closer to you. And if you watch the show, you can kind of see how far away the fans are, just the way they constructed that arena. You know, and that brings up a whole nother point. Justin obviously wasn't happy that the show was on at the same time as the Oscars. They couldn't have run the Staples Center on Saturday night because the Lakers had a home game. But they could have ran the Forum, which is a place that's about the same size and capacity. It's where the Lakers used to play. They've renovated the place recently, so it's in pretty good shape. It's further from outside of downtown, unlike the Staples Center. You know, but also they could have ran there on Saturday night and we wouldn't have to do this show on a Monday. We could have done a Sunday morning show, Jesse. I wish AEW would get back to the Saturday evening pay-per-views because they kind of pioneered that in recent times. WWE has ran with it and AEW's gotten away from that. And they're constantly running the Sunday night shows again most of the time, which I just really don't like for a variety of reasons. If you want to travel, it's hard to go to the shows because then you got to take off a day of work on Monday to get home. If you want to take your kids, you're going to be up till midnight and it's a school night. It's just, or even just have your kids watch the show. So I think it's just better all around to run these on Saturday, and I wish they would lean into that more.
Some of us got lucky, like you, that spring break started.
Yeah.
So fortunate circumstances there, but I could not agree with more than everything else that you said. And also with those close-ups, didn't they seem almost hyper close to you? Is that a way it came off on TV? Because that looked really bad to me.
Yeah. I think it was Tim Jensen. He sent me, was that in our Snapchat group? Something about like the Wayne's World extreme close-up. He was joking about that. So yeah. But I mean, look, overall main event, really enjoyed it. It ended up, I liked it more by the end than I thought I was going to. All right. So let's flip this around now, Jesse. And we'll start from the beginning of the show and we'll talk about, well, I don't really want to talk about the pre-show too much, but I will mention something that happened because it bled into the main show proper. And that was Jack Perry winning the 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal to win the national title from Ricochet. I like that with Perry winning it, basically in his hometown here. And if you haven't seen it, Justin sent this to us earlier today. Watch the post-show scrum when Jack Perry talks about what this meant to him. He ends up talking about his father, of course, Luke Perry, and his father's death, but also how he wished his dad could have been there to witness it, because he says kind of like the last time he was in that arena, he was walking around the concourse as a little kid with his dad. And it's a really, really kind of touching moment in the post show. So I would recommend people check that out if you haven't seen it. Happy for the guy. He just comes across as a really genuine dude. And I think it was the right move here.
I remember the SummerSlam that Luke Perry was featured, and they had his kids in the front row, not knowing that Jack Perry was the far one.
Was that like 08 or something? I can't remember.
It might have been even later than that.
Okay.
I want to say, I could be wrong. It was somewhere in between 11 and 14.
Okay.
If I recall.
I do remember the clip, though, that, he was there in the front row with his dad. That was pretty cool.
Would you have rather have seen him win it in a one-on-one confrontation as opposed to a 21-man battle royal?
I could go either way on that. I don't have like a real strong feeling on it. I think it was fine here, though. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they will do some singles matches. So,
because with the final four that were left, Ciampa is another one that you can go, hey, automatically throw another belt on him. I mean, in the next he's already, I think his character is coming across on TV very well. He's got one of the top probably 5 entrances in AEW right now, I think already. Just with the Shadow Knows My Story, I think it's great, and you're seeing a rejuvenated character here as well. So, I think it was the right decision, and then Justin showing us that video playing homage to it as well. And who knows what they'll do with Ricochet. And I know that they're going to I would assume they're going to continue to feature this on the independents a little bit here and there. I know Ricochet defended it, I believe, in Japan. Maybe Jack Perry goes to Mexico. I think, just keep that theme going with this title.
Yeah. I found that screenshot from SummerSlam. I'll put it on the screen here for the video. Here it is. There's Luke Perry with a young Jack Perry at It was SummerSlam 2009. So it's close, 2009. Yeah,
my guess would have been 10 looking at that logo.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there it is. Same venue. Wild.
Dang.
So we can talk about it now because I wanted it before, otherwise I might forget. But speaking of this title, and it got me thinking about what they're going to do this summer with a possible Forbidden Door. Do they ditch the Forbidden Door pay-per-view? Because, they're going to have that long gap between Double or Nothing and All In. Do they do a Forbidden Door show again? And I think it's kind of played out with New Japan for right now. I could see them doing a CMLL Forbidden Door. CMLL has been really hot in the wrestling world among hardcores. Last June, they ran that Dynamite at Arena Mexico, which was probably one of the most memorable TV shows of the year. I would love to see it, especially if they did it in Mexico, at Arena Mexico. I don't know how much value it would actually have on pay-per-view. It might be worth a shot. But Boy, if they could get CMLL on that new My AEW service, though, that would be a gold mine, because CMLL is one of those companies that I've really wanted to follow more, but it's like $30 a month on YouTube to watch all of their
Oh,
shows.
wow.
Yeah, so it's a high price point. I saw the reviews for My AEW were pretty high last night. And, if they can build a streaming platform that has CMLL, New Japan, AEW all on it internationally, that's going to be a huge thing for them moving forward. So I continuing to possibly broker that partnership with CMLL and running a Forbidden Door with them, I think would be the way to go if they want to do it this year rather than a Japanese angle. Obviously, if they do that, I think this title will play into the picture. But do you have any thoughts on Forbidden Door as a scheduled pay-per-view again this year?
They, especially with Gabe Kidd's comments in the press scrum, they should do away with it. Hey, have you seen what Gabe Kidd did and said?
I saw the quotes, but
whoa. I mean, it's kind of in character for Gabe Kidd, but he just completely trashed New Japan and told Tanahashi to F off at the same time. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. CMLL is red hot. I think it's hard, like you said, amongst the hardcores. There's a lot of trios. There's a lot of trios and 8-man tags also in New Japan. I think, well, just the way stories are told in Mexico and Japan, there's just a ton of tags and 6-mans and 8-person matches. And you get singles maybe once, maybe twice a month. So, and I think Claudio winning this title, by the way, I'll get a little off topic. He's defended that title a lot more than the predecessor Ultimo Guerrero had. I from what I had seen, he'd only been defending the title maybe every 4 or 5 months. It's not that important of a title. I think the middleweight one, or the one that Mystico held, that MJF took from him and Mystico got back, that is viewed as more important. Yeah. So I think it's cool that maybe Claudio's going to bring a different lineage to it. So I guess short answer long, CMLL would be the way to go, but I would just say maybe do away with it for a year or two.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, if they have that gap in the schedule or not. They did have kind of a gap here, though. I mean, it was their last pay-per-view was World's End, and that was 2.5 months ago. So they had a pretty big break here as well.
I love the gap.
Yeah,
personally.
Makes everything feel more important. For sure.
And every other month, I think, would be ideal. If you want to throw that special one in there for 7, do that. But 7, I believe, is the sweet spot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the main event, or the main show proper opened with the Bucks and FTR. Kind of a nice touch with the Bucks. Face again. They come out in Lakers colors. They had their families with them. Had kind of a cool, little opening video for their entrance, and then you get FTR, who have no ties to Boston really, but they came out in the Boston Celtics inspired gear to get the heat with that big rivalry historically between the Lakers and the Celtics. And yeah, man, I really like this match a lot more than you did. I know, just from the Discord comments that I saw. They go 19 minutes and 41 seconds. FTR retains, and they set up the return of Cope and Christian, and they're gonna factor in now to this title picture and possibly do a triple threat, like 3-way match with the Bucks and FTR. Maybe you do like a ladder match with them. They got a pay-per-view coming up in Vancouver, Dynasty, with the Canada connection, which will get people excited. I mean, the match had all the spots that you expect in a Bucks match, all the big flips, all the super kicks all around. They had a spot where, actually Matt went to the outside at one point. He did a slingshot crossbody, and they kind of dropped him. It looked like I don't know. I haven't seen anything on this, but it looked for a while. He was really favoring his side. It looked a little ugly. But they did like a double suplex spot from the apron to the floor that looked pretty gnarly. Hell of a fall to take there if you're the FTR. Matt hit a suicide on Stokely Hathaway later in the match. I love the gimmick with Stokely in the wheelchair. But I know you were more critical of the match, so if you want to chime in now, go ahead.
So I am going to retract some statements from last night's Discord. Frank said there were way too many spots, and it's a Bucks match. You gotta comes with the territory.
Yeah.
There were too many false finishes, too many finishers getting kicked out of. And then this should have been, if you're going to use that 1 count, if you want to use it in this match, by all means do so. but then you got to tell the people behind you to not use a 1 count in your matches. That became super repetitive to me. I just have to get used to the fact that in 2026, we're going to be seeing multiple finishers and they're going to be getting kicked out of, because I always joke. I'm like, is it going to take somebody to die in the ring to actually stay down for a 3 count, especially in like a Texas death match? I think that's crazy. But no, I actually did. I really enjoyed the match, but I am docking points, I think, just for the over the top finishers and yeah, just getting kicked out of, because all the points you made about like Stokely, I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, like Dax and Cash could have been seriously injured. It looked like Matt and Nick could barely hold them up. For those suplexes to the outside, I really, really liked when Nick did his usual. It was his kick. He hopped in the ring, hit Cash, or no, he hit Dax. Then he was about to do his backflip. Cash knew it was coming, sidestepped it, and turned it into just a beautiful suplex. It just goes to show that the chemistry between the two teams. Lastly, the Full Gear 2020 almost tribute with the Bucks wearing the Lakers colors, and the Celtics wore the FTR wore darker green trunks with black, I believe, knee pads in 2020. So still playing off that rivalry, and they can continue this. Now I'm just wishing for 2 things. Another tag team to step up and try to become the team, because these 2 teams have been on top for 6 years, and somebody's got to do it. And then with Copeland and Christian, I suppose that makes sense. And if it is in Canada, there's a likelihood that they win the titles. And personally, I don't want to see that. I don't know about you.
I'm not opposed to it as a short-term thing. For as much as we gripe about Copeland and, he's been gone for a while, but like that place went crazy for him. And, I do think there's something to when you're a company that's looking to grow it, and when you have a little momentum and you're on the ascension, to use some familiar faces, like people that are wanting to check out AEW for the first time, to see someone like that they recognize from being wrestling fans in the past. I think that has value. So I'm not like super opposed I don't want to see them carrying the tag division all year long, or anything like that. But this is, I think, clearly kind of like the write-off for him as a wrestler, I would assume. And, so if he gets one last run with the tag titles with Christian briefly, they win him in Canada, whatever, I'm fine with that. I don't have a super strong opinion on it either way. I agree that long-term, we got to elevate some new teams, because it's been the Bucks and FTR for a long while here. Going back to like the false finishes and stuff. Yeah, I've traditionally like not like that either. I mean, God, they did that in Japan for a long time, but also like, when did that originate? HBK and Taker at Mania 25. I mean,
Kyle
like,
Ross and we had a good lengthy discussion of that on my podcast a handful of years ago, but he also said, and we agreed, it actually originated more in Japan.
Yeah.
With all of these. And I'm going to talk about it with Misawa and Kobashi, how they just beat the shit out of each other. And they're like, how did that not end the match? So,
yeah. I mean, I just kind of assume that's going to be the case in these matches with the Bucks. They've been doing it for a long time, and that's always kind of been the formula. I mean, like I called out a little while ago that tag match at Revolution 2020, which was match of the year contender. That had a lot of false finishes in it. And I thought that match was awesome too. So I couldn't take it away from that one at the time. So I would feel personally like I was being hypocritical if I bashed them for it 6 years later. I mean, they've always done it. If you know the Bucks, they've been doing that for a long time. I mean, you've been following them for a long time. You know that as well. So it doesn't bother me that much. That's wrestling these days. Hell, I just got the new WWE 2K video game, and this has been going on in the video games even. Like, you'll hit a bunch of finishers and you can't pin the other side, and I get all pissed. Like, that should have been the finish, I've hit the go to sleep twice now. What the hell? But yeah, it's that's just wrestling these days. Unfortunately, the traditionalist in me likes one finish or maybe 2, and that's the end after 2 finishers. But unfortunately, this is the way the business has evolved. So yeah, I like the match a lot. I had this one in the main event basically tied as match of the night in my star ratings. I had to make the exact same rating. I really dug it at the time. And, if you've been listening to this podcast, I've been down on the Bucks a little bit the last couple of years, but this was a phenomenal match. Really liked it. They followed it up with Tony Storm and Marina Shafir. I don't have a ton to say about the match. I was happy that they didn't let it overstay its welcome and go like 20 minutes. This was a one that went just under 10 minutes, but it actually felt like less than that. It went by really fast. And this is what I was referring to earlier when They actually ended the match when they should end the match. They shouldn't have it wear out its welcome. Let's keep this show moving. So, Tony gets the win, but then in the aftermath is when Ronda Rousey comes out. And, Ronda Rousey coming to the side of Marina, who is, one of the 4 horsewomen from back in her MMA days. And last night on BR, Jeremy made the point of Shayna Baszler, he would have got a bigger pop than Ronda got, which I think Baszler's available. I mean, she's been out of WWE a while. I think she did some indie work. So maybe they will bring her in eventually. If you have anything to add on the match, you can, but then I think the larger point here is talking about Ronda and AEW using her.
Very brief thoughts on the match. It was one of Marina's better singles performances. It helps having Toni Storm in there. Tony's so good. And then I looked away because I was typing in notes and was very, very brief. And then Ronda came out.
Yeah.
And I just got startled for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Why? I know she's fighting Gina Carano in an exhibition match on Netflix here in a little under 2 months. And I was like, cross promotion? And then I just started seeing the backlash, like, why Ronda? And my first thoughts when I saw her was, this is the best shape I've seen her look in a long time. I think those last couple of years when she was in the WWE, I remember her winning the Royal Rumble 4 months postpartum. How do you expect that? To me, was unbelievable. Should never have happened. Number 2, like the tail end, she just seemed super unmotivated in WWE. And then I started kind of flashing back to some of the comments that she's made in the past about transphobia, number 1, Sandy Hook, number 2. I know she's retracted a couple, like 1, maybe 2 of those statements. So doesn't really look good in the eyes of a promotion that's very friendly when it comes to diversity and equality. So I said it's a wait and see approach, and that's the way it's going to be. I don't see her being used as a super large character long term, simply because of what's already on top of the card as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Shayna, so she does like some guest coaching for WWE, but she's not under contract. That's what she said in an interview with Chris Van Vliet a couple of months ago. So I don't really know. She's done some stuff at the Performance Center. She might be available. Who knows? But with Ronda, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's going to be controversy there. I don't really particularly agree with anything she said. She's had some real out there conspiracy crap that she spewed, and she took a long time to walk back the Sandy Hook thing in particular, which is like beyond despicable to allude that what she did about that. I don't even want to say it. It's just horrendous stuff. She eventually walked it back, but it took her like a decade to do that. That's bad. It's real bad. We know that, some of the people at WWE have bashed her after she left there. She's also bashed WWE. I think they are just using her for publicity purposes. It's one of those things where, like, they're trying to get noticed by the greater public, and Ronda is a name that carries value in the sports world. You mentioned she's got the fight with Gina Carano in mid-May, about 2 months from now. So Ronda can't be doing physical things, I would assume. It'd be kind of crazy if they did. There's a lot of money on that fight coming up in 2 months. So I think they're just banking on her presence to get them some attention, and she obviously has the natural tie-in with Marina. I think that's pretty much all that there is to it. It's just for publicity. She did the Ring of Honor match not too long ago, so she's had some tie-ins there with TK. We'll wait and see. I don't have a firm thought on it. Obviously, her past I'm not a fan of, but we'll see how they use it. It's so early; it's really hard to make a declaratory statement at this point. So, well, we'll see what happens. It's one of those things again where it's like there's not the high profile performer that's going to jump from WWE right now, I don't think. So if you're AEW and you're looking to like garner some attention to the greater world, I think that's what they're doing with this. I don't know that it's going to make much of a difference. She was a huge star like a decade ago. I don't feel she has that drawing power anymore, but there's some value in her name. And so I'll wait and see how they attempt to use it.
Yep. And then lastly, I think there's only one name, it might be later on in the year, that would move from WWE to AEW, and that's Bayley.
Yeah. Yep. Bayley would be cool. That would be and we know that her and Mercedes are tight. So I could see it actually happening. Mm-hmm. And that would be very enticing, I think. So we'll see maybe later in the year. But yeah, so then after this, we get Moxley and Takeshita. Phenomenal match. basically right there as like my 1B match of the night behind the opener and the main event. I mean, these two always are great in the ring when they get in there together. And this was no different. Hard hitting, Moxley retaining the Continental title over Takeshita. I thought they might flip it here, but given what happened after the match, not surprised anymore that they didn't. Give me your take on the match, Jesse.
Physical. These two always have physical confrontations. One of my favorite one counts of all time was Takeshita kicking out at one of a Moxley paradigm shift on Rampage in 2022. And I think that was kind of what started the who is this guy? And look where he is now. So I didn't like the decision at first. I liked the whole flicking him off after a couple of paradigm shifts, and then he finally passed out from all the pain.
Yeah.
I had a bad taste in my mouth, and then afterwards, I mean, what transpired later, I'm like, well, storyline wise, this might start to make sense. I guess now the question is who takes it away from Jon Moxley, because he's been a fighting Continental Champion, something they haven't had since Eddie Kingston had it. He's just willing to take on anybody. He'll wrestle each week. And the amazing thing as well, go watch his AEW close-up with Renee, his wife. It's great. It's 35 minutes to deep dive psychologically in the mind of a guy who really has a really nuanced, interesting takes with the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah. I've had that on my list. I think was that Justin who mentioned that he had been rereading Mox's book recently? Because then I started to do so as well. And God, that is such a good book. I love just how he jumps around and like the little pop culture references. If you guys haven't read Mox's book, you should. You'll have more of an appreciation for him. And again, we try to be really objective on this show. And during his like the dire parts of his title reign, we were very vocal on here that we thought he should drop it. But overall, Moxley, from the beginning of AEW to now, has always been one of the MVPs. I think he was my wrestler of the year in 2022. You know, when stuff kept going wrong with the injuries and the Punk drama, he was like that consistent guy who carried things through. And, you know, here he is. He retains, like you said, he basically got Takeshita to pass out with the sleeper, the choke. That was the finish. But yeah, I mean, hard hitting is the easiest way to sum this one up. And then it looks like Moxley is going to leave. And then the lights go out. And they play kind of like this Wolverine type video for Ospreay. And then I liked how the lights came back on. And for a couple of seconds, they made you think he wasn't there. And it was just a video teasing at his return. But then Elevated comes on and he comes out of this on the stage. And the place is just going absolutely nuts. And then you're wondering, is he actually ready to go though? Or is he just going to do this face off and maybe he'll wrestle in like a month? But then he tears off his shirt and he freaking runs down to the ring. And he immediately hits the hidden blade. And then it looks like he's going to get double teamed. And then he does the back handspring flip off of the ropes. And then he does the dive off the top rope to the outside and like sarcastically like cracks his neck. And he's pointing at the scar on his neck from his neck surgery. And oh my God, like if you didn't walk away from that thinking this is the guy to build this company around, I don't know what you're thinking, because the place came totally unglued. We've been saying on the show for 2 years. I mean, he has everything that they want. He has worldwide appeal. He's not just popular in America. He's obviously not an American. You know, he's got the appeal across the globe. Japan, where he's been a champion. Obviously, being over from England and having the appeal over there as well. He's a viral type personality with the move set that, you know, you can get that out there to this generation of young people today that have the attention span of 10 seconds at a time. Well, give me the 10-second TikTok of Will Ospreay doing crazy shit. You know, that's going to get you noticed. This is the guy. He is the baby face that they need to build around. And I assume 2026, Jesse, is the year where it finally happens.
As long as he stays healthy, yes. He's leaner. He looks like he's probably 10 or 15 pounds down. My imagination would just be because he's probably unable to lift any weights after a neck surgery. And I don't blame you. It's a long rehab process. So to see him back after 7 or 8 months from that it's very, it's is really cool to see. He's got a great story already, and I've followed his career since probably late 2017 when I really got into New Japan, and I just immediately was just gravitated to the guy. And I think the maturation process over the last 9 years is something I didn't even foresee coming. So he's a super likable guy, and you should definitely hitch your wagon to him as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's I remember, God, I mean, really people started to take notice of him when he had the Super Juniors match with Ricochet. Was that 16? Summer of
Yes.
2016? And I remember Tim's in the chat here. I remember I believe that summer at my old house, Tim and I were brewing some beer in my garage that summer, and I had my laptop out in the garage and we were watching that match. And yeah, and then Ricochet wrestled at an indie show here in our town like a month after that, and we saw him wrestle Sami Callihan, which was an outstanding match. And then when Justin and I and Kyle went to Mania 34, we saw Ospreay wrestle on some indie shows down there, and we walked like right past him on the floor afterwards when he was signing autographs and stuff. And we've all liked the guy. I don't know that at that point I would have seen him as like the top star of a major North American promotion, though. I mean, the way he's continued to elevate his game and become this undeniable superstar now is just it's like obvious. Again, when someone is that obvious, you have to go with them. And God, my kids were so pumped to see him back. You guys have probably seen the videos that Will has been retweeting today on Twitter. I wish I would have filmed my kids because they lost their shit. And yeah, they were going nuts when he came back. And we watched it again this morning. They were so happy. I mean, he's got multi-generational appeal. He is also, did he get new ink? Was that some new tattoos on his arm? We were talking about that last night.
Really hard to tell. He might have. Yeah. I mean, personable, marketable, and he's grown quite a bit. He's not that kid that he was 9-10 years ago when if he ate a whole bunch of burgers and pizza, you wouldn't be able to see it. Now he's a grown man. It's the maturation process, like I said. Super fun, and you'd be crazy not to hitch your wagon to a guy like that.
Tim mentioned the chat. That's right. Tim and I went to a New Japan ROH Global War show in Chicago suburbs in 2017, and Ospreay wrestled, I believe, Flip Gordon on that show. It was a phenomenal match too. So yeah, man, this has been building a lot for him, and I hope this is a big year. I hope that he headlines Wembley. It seems like a no-brainer. So I think the pre-sale for that just started today, didn't it?
Yeah, we texted, I think, twice last night, and we both said we hope that he comes to our respective cities in a little less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we got some AEW hitting the Midwest. We'll be there. All right, so we got the Ospreay return. God, we're almost at an hour. We're going to have to start picking up the pace here.
We can do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much on this next one. The women's tag team title match. So this was another one of them where it was like, all right, don't overstay the welcome. You don't need to go long. They went 5 minutes with Cross and Bane winning the titles from Babes of Wrath. Predictable, I think. I felt that Bane and Penelope were going to win the titles. It sucks for Penelope Ford that she got injured. But, you get Lena Cross out here. More than adequate sub for her, and it's still a cool team with 2 really big girls out there now that can work with Cross and Bane. This was an easy prediction going in, and then they did the thing on the pre-show where Willow got attacked by Cross, and she was working hurt, so they made it a short match. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. Logical conclusion here for this match, though.
It was. I've been saying for months it's about time Megan Bane got some gold. And I'll segue into something that's coming down the road right now. That'll make a couple of you smile. If Megan Bane had half of the charisma that Tekla has, she would probably be world champion by now. Like, she's improved that much, I think, in the last year and a half.
Yeah. No, she's awesome. Megan Bane is awesome. Yeah, and she's worked hard to get better and better and better, and it definitely shows.
Big fan of hers.
Yeah, so then we got Swerve and Brody King. This match I really, really liked in the moment. I think initially I was going to give it 4 stars. I ended up giving like 3 3/4, but I mean, it was a solid match. I mean, at some point, I might have put over Brody here. It's just, he needs to win a big match. I don't think that Swerve would have been hurt at all in losing here. And then he could have just beat him down afterwards since he's got this heel turn going on anyways and got some of his heat back. But I want to see him go full full on with Brody. You know, he gets in these big matches and then he never wins. He's really got something right now. I mean, the crowd was really, really behind him. And, you know, again, hard hitting is the obvious descriptor of this match. But I really, really like this one.
This might be a little crazy. I think I had a little bit more fun watching this than I had watching Mox and Takeshita.
Yeah.
I don't think it was as technically smooth. Definitely not. But they just beat the hell out of each other, and seeing Swerve look like a completely different human being these days. Picking up Brody King, I think, once and doing something. I have it written down in my notes somewhere what he did, but he picked him up somewhat easily and tossed him into the bottom of the unexposed ring cable.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like dude's just morphed into a very, very large individual. He got some F-Ice chants in this, which you can always smile for as well. This was the third 1 count of the night, unfortunately. Thankfully, it stopped after this. So, but outside of that, they just they laid it into each other, and that's what made this so fun to me. And I agree with you. I think Brody King would have been a logical winner here. You're right, it's not gonna hurt Swerve, and he's a heel now. And I think both guys have different stories, but Brody's story could have been more compelling with a win.
Yeah. Yeah, Brody took a vertebraker to the floor at one point. That was pretty sick. I do like how Swerve is now transitioning to using the house call as his finish more than the stomp off the top. Makes more sense as a heel. It looks brutal every time, but he ends up winning with the house call. And then he's going to go for a stomp on a cinder block after the match. But then Kenny Omega ends up running out, making the save. And people didn't know if Kenny was going to be at the show. He apparently said he wasn't going to work the show a while ago. Wasn't he doing like some video game stuff?
Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's right. So anyways, he ends up making the run in. People were jacked to see him. So yeah, I loved the match. Cool to see Kenny out there. Really, really good match. So hard hitting, worth going out of your way to check this one out.
Yeah, Swerve with the selling on the floor with the sidewalk slam by Brody on the exposed floor. That looked like it hurt. I mean, there's just a lot of spots that just open your eyes. Just a breath of fresh air for this one.
Yeah. Follow this with Tekla defending the women's world title against Statlander. 2 out of 3 falls match. And this was one I was looking forward to talking with you about because I listened to Unplugged last week and I was actually stunned you weren't more of a fan of Tekla because I thought, man, she's got to be right up Jesse's alley. Like the way she works is very Japan, like hard hitting. She's got a cool character, I think, unique and charisma. I'm just like a really big fan of hers right now. And I thought going in, God, they cannot possibly put the title back on Statlander. You know, we've been positive on Statlander throughout the history of the show. She's very respected in the locker room. I understand that and everything. But to me, she's not like the type you build the women's division around. Short title runs are fine. She's had opportunities. She's been around since the beginning of AEW. But Tekla is the hot hand right now. And when I watch her, it just feels like she just has something kind of like special about her. She's just like a very engaging character to me right now. And like one of the high points of the show. So I mean, I really enjoyed the match and I'm glad she retained. But I think your opinion is starting to change on her a little bit. So I don't know that we'll have as much of a back and forth, but give me your thoughts.
Winning the first fall last night the way that she did, and she held the ropes, and when she snuck out of the ring, she started to win me over with her taunt. Like, I got one, and just started with this cheesy heel grin. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
That's showing me a little something. And yeah, you're right. I think with the experience from Stardom truly helps, and you can tell with a lot of the women that come over there. I think what soured me out in her the last month is her spears have not looked crisp to me at all. They've just looked like she's half caught people. It's like, that doesn't look good to me.
It's kind of a weak finish. I mean, like, I don't know. Not great.
At least it was a setup last night to a couple of stomps.
Yeah.
Which I think is what it should lead into. And I don't know if this is on Tekla or if this is on her opponents with the ability not to get hit crisply from a spear that she's throwing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then I watched the segment on Collision the night before with Chris Statlander and the belt, which came into play as well when she took the belt off of the referee. Statlander gets caught. Good stuff. So Yeah, I'm starting to turn the corner on Tekla for sure. So, yeah, I think for now she's probably the right woman to hold it. It's a matter of like a Mercedes, a Tony, or somebody else deciding to step up and take it from her.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, you're right. I mean, using it as a setup is fine, but it's just it hasn't looked like a big move for her to set up her finishing sequences, I don't think. But she does. She has a repertoire of pretty impressive moves that she can use and that she's used historically. So yeah, the stomp was fine. Right finish though. I think that she just her as a personality is elevating. Having Julia with her. Certainly, I like to see Julia Hart get more of a push again. Like when she was moving up the ranks and getting to that TBS title, we were big fans, and then she kind of like took a step down because obviously she didn't have House of Black. The partnership with Sky Blue is fine, but you put those two on their own, it's not going to work. But you put them with Tekla, who is this personality that just pops off the screen. Yeah, I think it works. So I'm a fan of that faction that they have, and her in particular.
Yeah, and there's stories to be told that if you want to break them up later on down the line, that'll get fans invested.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, World Trios titles match. Jet Speed and Mystico won. They won the titles from the Don Callis family: Okada, Fletcher, Mark Davis. I mean, at the risk of going 2 hours tonight, Jesse, or this afternoon, it was a good match, as you would expect with all of these people in there. There was I think the greater talking points, or there had been some rumors about Kevin Knight possibly turning heel. I don't see that making any sense at all. I would not turn Kevin Knight heel. He just is a tailor-made babyface to me. But they win the titles. Mystico, who's had this career resurgence. I saw your tweet on him. How can this guy go to WWE, all of a sudden have all these botches as Sin Cara, come back years later and be at the top again like he is now? I mean, he's a living legend in Mexico, obviously. But then they put up on the screen afterwards that he's all elite officially, and they talked about him being like double contracted with CMLL and AEW. Just another reason to do more with CMLL and possibly a Forbidden Door with them down the line. But that was a cool moment to see Mystico celebrating with his fantastic theme song playing and the crowd in Southern California singing along to it. Yeah, I mean, it was like the aftermath was a bigger story than the match itself.
This match was better than it had every right to be. To be honest with you, I started paying attention about halfway through. I'm like, this is actually really good. Yeah. And then with Okada and Mystico, probably the two biggest stars from Japan and Mexico, respectively, I actually had a little bit of a gasp moment, and I think the crowd did too. They recognized that like these two legends are finally squaring off in the middle of the ring. Let's see them actually get it on for maybe the AEW International title.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun. And the sequencing drop kicks with Knight and Okada, I thought that was real cool. Who has the better drop kick? Mark Davis even pulling off some stuff, a cartwheel and a nice looking enziguri. Channeling back to Aussie Open with Kyle Fletcher. Yeah, it was super fun, and congratulations to Mystico as well for getting the All Elite banner and now holding a title.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's just more and more and more. Bandito against Andrade, who, good God, this Andrade and what he has done with his character has been something else. You talk about what happened with Mystico and him going, becoming Sin Cara and then that not working and then elevating his game again so many years later. Pretty much the same thing with Andrade. I mean, we joked about it on the show. He returned to WWE. Nobody gave a shit. You could hear a penny drop when he would make his entrances at WWE. Tony famously left the door open. He never really, even with Punk, like he hasn't closed the door, even as the way Punk left this promotion, for God's sakes. I mean, he doesn't really slam the door shut on many people. Maybe not everybody. There's some names out there that for whatever reason can't seem to get booked to return. But for the most part, he leaves the door open. And so, when Andrade left in, what was that, like December of last year or whatever, he's like, yeah, the door's always open. So they bring him back. And apparently this character he's doing is all his idea with the heartthrob stuff. He has dreamt up all of this, and it is working so well. The crowd is invested in him. He's having fantastic matches. He beats the ROH champion here in a match that went about 21 minutes. A phenomenal match. I gave this one 4 stars. Give me your thoughts, Jesse.
I went 4.25. I went a little higher.
Yeah. I mean, I
I
can see it. Yeah.
Ooh, Bandito had a career year last year, and they just kind of continued it. You almost wanted to see Bandito win here, almost very similar to Brody King. It's like let's get another win and see if he can vault up the rankings. But this Andrade character and both of them pulling off their trunks, I thought was an interesting
Those were
play.
some thin trunks Andrade was wearing. I'll just say that.
Yeah, yeah, that
Played
was.
into his character.
But both of them pulling off some sweet aerial moves, and I think Bandito might have pulled off one of the best moves of the night with the 21 plex from Andrade being face down on the mat or like belly down on the mat, picking him up and
Yeah.
being able to lift him was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. This was just an outstanding match. I mean, if this was this could have like main evented Dynamite. People be talking about it for weeks. And instead it's a match on a show that had like 4 outstanding matches. And, by the end of the night, maybe some people are forgetting about it. But my God, it was not the semi-main position, but 2 from the top. And yeah, looking forward to them, doing a return match now, probably for the ROH title. Yeah, really, really good stuff. Well
Love
worth.
his step through elbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really cool countering move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this was great stuff. All right. So, I mean, you had Andrade with the women in the crowd, obviously plants, but always kind of amusing when they do that. Was there anything else I wanted to point out here? I don't.
I'm gonna try and take mine in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Are you taking her?
Yeah.
To Dynamite? Nice. Very nice. Hopefully Andrade doesn't steal her away.
That's what I'm saying. I know.
Yeah.
He has a penchant for she's not Latin. She has a Latin first name, so
okay.
Maybe you will.
All right. And then the semi-main, the only one we haven't really chatted about was the Tornado 6-man, Darby, Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong taking on the Dogs, Clark Connors, David Finlay, and Gabe Kidd. Another one where with the names involved, I was a little worried they would go too long, especially knowing it was the second to last match of the night and everyone wanted to get to the main event. They went like 12 minutes, so it didn't overstay its welcome, was entertaining throughout. You have the baby faces get the win there with Darby and Cassidy and Roddy Strong. Strong's been getting some good reactions lately. What'd you think of this match?
Yeah, he just came back. So the whole $15 gift card if you find Roddy.
Yeah, that's pretty amusing how they have that on the Tron. Yeah.
Tim took my very first point right away. Clark counters with that ridiculous spear on Darby Allin.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And Darby being Darby, the human pinball, you got to love how he just bounces off of people and diving through that rope. It's just
awesome. That was the one Darby was like walking on the outside of the ring, right? Like on the apron, and then Connors comes and like spears him through the ropes to the outside.
Yeah.
Freaking crazy, dude.
Super loud. It might have been the loudest chops of the night from Gabe Kidd. So I thought that was cool to see. And David Finlay really didn't step up like he did in the first couple of 6-man matches. So it's kind of a guy that you would think would be the de facto leader of this faction.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's so early on in his AEW career. We'll see. I liked his Dominator as well. I thought that was pretty authoritative. Orange and Darby are 2 guys that can just make anybody look good because they're very slight and slender. So they just boom, take that huge punishment. The shocker was the Faces one to me. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a firm feeling either way going in who would win this one. I guess with the heels, like the newer names in the promotion, it would make sense maybe to put them over some, like a guy like Darby, who's a big name here, and Orange, obviously. But I don't know. Maybe they're playing into this newfound momentum that Roddy Strong appears to have since returning. But yeah, I mean, there was also a kind of a scary moment, as I recall, where Darby, who was that Gabe Kidd? He went to hit him with a skateboard, and yeah, he hit him in the head. I think he was trying to hit him in the back, but he ended up hitting him like right across the back of the head, which is kind of a little bit of a scary moment. But yeah, I mean, it tornado, so it was wild and stuff happening all over the place. But yeah, the Faces go over.
You throw it in a different part of the card, and it ends up being maybe a top 4 match of the night. Instead, it gets put in that main event, in between the main event and then Bandito and Andrade, which was in my top 2 to 3 matches of the night also.
It was kind of funny when wasn't Darby like tied up with the tag rope and he was just like hanging out over there for a long time. And then the crowd was like, please save Darby or something like, or please help Darby or something. I was like, yeah, what do you, like, you guys have been on offense a little bit. Why is nobody like unhooking him over there? And they ended up cutting him out. But that was kind of funny. But yeah, overall, I mean, I like the match. Didn't overstay its welcome, like we said, and set us up for that crazy main event that went 46 minutes and 18 seconds with MJF retaining. So I am looking forward to watching Dynamite Wednesday night. I believe they're in Fresno, California. And then, yeah, in a couple of weeks, they'll be up in Minnesota. They'll have a Collision down in Iowa. We'll be there live and talk about our experiences here on the show in a couple of weeks, which should be fun. But we'll try to be on the air more regular now as we hit our groove. You know, scheduling has been a bit of an issue with our families and kids and activities and stuff, but always fun to hook up and do another flagship, Jesse, and we're going to keep the stuff coming on the Patreon side.
I know. Most importantly, I miss Justin, so we hope he's back very, very soon. It's not the same without a 3-man booth. The only positive thing out of this is at least he's going to be able to hear this podcast.
Yes, he'll be sending us feedback as he listens, I am sure. So, guys, get in that Discord group. I mentioned at the beginning of the show. If you're not already in there you see it on the screen, topropenation.com/Discord. Get in the group. And if you really, really want to support us, I mentioned the bonus shows on Patreon. There you go. Patreon.com/TopRopeNation, or you can scan that QR code that's on your screen right there. And we'll be back before too long. Hopefully not as long as it took for us to get this flagship up. I'm assuming it's going to be a little quicker than it took for this one. So, Jesse, it's been a blast, my friend. Appreciate you jumping on with me.
Appreciate it as always, Ryan. And thank you, Lively Chat. We miss you the most.
Yes. Got some new names in here. So definitely good to see everyone joining in on the chat. Appreciate all you tuning in today. And check out the archives. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thumbs up this video. That would help us out a lot. Please do so and subscribe to the channel while you're here. And turn on bell notifications. So next time we're live, you know when we are on the air. But I think that'll do it for episode 408 of Top Rope Nation. We will be talking to you all again very soon. Take care, everybody.
Terry Funk forever.